The village bustled with holiday cheer. Festive lights twinkled in every corner, casting a warm glow over the cobblestone streets. Children sang carols, their voices echoing through the crisp winter air, filling the night with a sense of magic and wonder. But in a quiet corner, away from the laughter and joy, a young girl shivered in the cold. Her name was Noelia. She sat alone, her small frame barely visible in the shadows. She wore tattered clothes that barely kept the chill at bay and hid her face beneath a worn hood. Her eyes, though hidden, held a depth of sadness and mystery. No one knew she was a princess. Her true identity was a well-guarded secret, known only to a select few. No one knew she was Santa Claus's daughter. The very essence of Christmas magic flowed through her veins. Noelia had a secret mission. She wasn't just any beggar girl. She had a purpose that went beyond her own survival. She was there to protect the village from dark spirits. These malevolent entities thrived on despair and sought to extinguish the light of joy and laughter. These spirits hated joy and laughter. They lurked in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike and spread their darkness. They wanted to steal Christmas spirit. Their goal was to drain the village of its festive cheer, leaving only sorrow in their wake. Noelia had to stop them, but she had to do it in secret. She couldn't risk revealing her true identity or her mission. The villagers hurried past Noelia. They didn't notice her. To them, she was just another face in the crowd, another unfortunate soul lost in the hustle and bustle of the holiday season. She was just another face in the crowd, but beneath her humble exterior, she carried the weight of a monumental task. A kind baker, Mrs. Olson, offered Noelia a warm pastry. The smell of freshly baked bread and sweet pastries filled the air, a stark contrast to the cold and hunger Noelia felt. Noelia looked at her with surprise. She had grown accustomed to being ignored, to being invisible. No one had shown her kindness in a long time. Mrs. Olson smiled gently, her eyes filled with warmth and compassion. "It's cold out here, dear one. Eat this. It will warm you up," Mrs. Olson said, her voice soft and comforting. Noelia hesitantly took the pastry. She wasn't used to such acts of kindness and wasn't sure how to respond. A tiny spark of hope flickered inside her. Maybe, just maybe, there was still goodness in the world. Maybe, just maybe, she could connect with these people. She realized that her mission wasn't just about fighting dark spirits. It was also about rekindling the light of hope and kindness in the hearts of the villagers. For the first time in a long while, Noelia felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the pastry. It was the warmth of human connection, of being seen and cared for. She smiled, a small but genuine smile, and felt a renewed sense of purpose. She looked around the village, now filled with a new determination. She would protect these people, not just from the dark spirits, but also from the darkness that could creep into their hearts. She would be their silent guardian, their unseen protector. And maybe, just maybe, she would find a place where she truly belonged. As darkness fell, Noelia found shelter in the village stables. The night was cold, and the wind howled through the cracks in the wooden walls. She shivered slightly, pulling her cloak tighter around her shoulders as she made her way to a quiet corner. The stables were empty, save for a few horses that nickered softly in their sleep. Noelia felt a sense of calm wash over her. This place, though humble, offered a brief respite from the dangers lurking outside. She pulled off her hood, revealing shimmering silver hair. The moonlight streaming through the stable windows caught the strands, making them glisten like threads of pure silver. Her hair was a stark contrast to the drab cloak she wore, a hidden gem in the rough. She carefully unbuttoned her drab cloak, revealing a beautiful dress underneath. The transformation was almost magical. The dull, worn fabric fell away to uncover a gown that seemed to be woven from the very essence of winter itself. It shimmered like freshly fallen snow, each movement causing the fabric to sparkle as if dusted with 1,000 tiny diamonds. The dress was a symbol of her true identity. one she had to keep hidden from the world for her own safety. This was her true form, hidden from the world. Noelia had always felt a deep connection to the winter season, and her attire reflected that bond. She looked around the stable, ensuring she was alone before she allowed herself to fully embrace her true self. Suddenly, a pair of magnificent feathery wings unfolded from her back. They emerged gracefully, each feather perfectly aligned, creating a breathtaking sight. The wings were not just for show, they were a part of her very being, a manifestation of her inner strength and purity. They were as white as snow and shimmered with an ethereal glow. The light they emitted was soft yet powerful, illuminating the stable with a gentle radiance. These wings were a gift, a symbol of her unique heritage and the responsibilities that came with it. These wings were her secret weapon against the dark spirits. They granted her abilities far beyond those of ordinary humans, allowing her to combat the malevolent forces that threatened her world. The dark spirits were relentless, always seeking to spread fear and chaos. But Noelia was their counterbalance, a beacon of hope and light. They allowed her to fly and fight with incredible speed and grace. In the air, she was unstoppable, her movements fluid and precise. Each beat of her wings propelled her forward, giving her the agility to outmaneuver her foes and the strength to strike with devastating force. Noelia practiced her moves, her wings beating softly. She knew that preparation was key. Every moment spent honing her skills could mean the difference between victory and defeat. The stable provided a safe space for her to train, away from prying eyes and potential threats. She could sense the dark spirits lurking at the edge of the village. Their presence was a constant, oppressive weight on her mind. They were drawn to the village's warmth and light, seeking to extinguish it and plunge the world into darkness. They were waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Noelia knew that they would not rest until they had achieved their sinister goals. The villagers were unaware of the danger that loomed just beyond their homes, but Noelia was ever vigilant, ready to defend them at a moment's notice. Noelia knew she had to be ready. She steeled herself, drawing on the strength and courage that had been passed down to her through generations. Her mission was clear: protect the village and its inhabitants from the encroaching darkness. Christmas Eve was fast approaching. The village was adorned with festive decorations, and the air was filled with the scent of pine and the sound of carolers singing. It was a time of joy and celebration, but for Noelia, it was also a time of heightened vigilance. Closing her eyes, Noelia thought about her father, Santa Claus. He was a figure of warmth and generosity, beloved by children and adults alike. His mission was one of spreading joy and kindness, a stark contrast to the darkness she fought against. He was away on his annual Christmas Eve journey, delivering gifts to children around the world. Noelia felt a pang of longing, wishing she could be with him, but she knew her place was here, protecting the village in his absence. He had entrusted her with this important mission, and she was determined to make him proud. Noelia took a deep breath, her resolve strengthening. She would not let the dark spirit succeed. With her wings unfurled and her heart full of determination, she prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The next morning, Noelia continued to blend in. The village was bathed in the soft glow of the morning sun, and the air was filled with the scent of fresh bread and blooming flowers. Noelia walked through the cobblestone streets, her heart swelling with a sense of belonging she hadn't felt in years. She helped Mrs. Olson at the bakery, kneading dough and sharing laughter. The warmth of the oven and the camaraderie of the villagers made her feel at home. Mrs. Olson, with her kind eyes and gentle smile, treated Noelia like a daughter, and Noelia cherished these moments of simple joy. She played with the children in the square, their laughter echoing through the village. They played games, sang songs, and Noelia's heart danced with them. The children, with their innocent eyes and boundless energy, reminded her of the magic of childhood. Slowly, she began to earn their trust. The villagers, initially wary of the newcomer, started to see her as one of their own. They welcomed her into their homes, shared their stories, and Noelia listened with an open heart. They still didn't know her secret, but they saw her kind heart. Noelia's acts of kindness, whether it was helping with chores or offering a comforting word, endeared her to the villagers. She became a beacon of hope and warmth in their lives. One little boy, Thomas, was particularly enchanted by Noelia. His eyes would light up whenever she was around, and he followed her like a shadow, eager to be in her presence. He loved her stories and her gentle nature. Noelia would weave tales of far-off lands and magical creatures, and Thomas would listen, wide-eyed and enthralled. Her stories were a window to a world of wonder and imagination. He brought her wildflowers and shared his toys. Each gesture, no matter how small, was a testament to the bond they were forming. Noelia treasured these moments, feeling a connection that transcended words. Noelia felt a warmth inside her that had nothing to do with her magical abilities. It was the warmth of human connection, of being seen and accepted for who she was. This was a new kind of magic, one that filled her heart with joy. This was the feeling of friendship. It was a bond forged through shared experiences, laughter, and trust. Noelia realized that this was what she had been missing all along. As Christmas Eve drew closer, the dark spirits grew bolder, the air grew colder, and an uneasy feeling settled over the village. The once vibrant streets now seemed shrouded in a veil of fear. They cast shadows over the village, making people feel sad and afraid. The villagers whispered of dark omens and ill fortune, their spirits dampened by the encroaching darkness. Noelia knew she had to act fast. She couldn't let the darkness take hold of the village she had come to love. Her resolve hardened, and she prepared to face the looming threat. She had to protect the villagers and their Christmas spirit. The joy and warmth of the season were at stake, and Noelia was determined to safeguard it. That night, Noelia decided to reveal a little of her true self. She knew that to fight the darkness, she needed to embrace her own light. It was time to show the villagers who she really was. She gathered the children in the square. Their innocent faces looked up at her with trust and curiosity, and Noelia felt a surge of love and protectiveness. With a twirl and a flourish, she let her shimmering dress and silver hair be seen. The air sparkled with magic, and the children watched in awe as Noelia's true form was revealed. The children gasped in wonder. Their eyes widened with amazement, and a collective gasp filled the air. They had never seen anything so beautiful and enchanting. Noelia smiled. It felt good to let her guard down, even just a little. She felt a sense of relief and happiness, knowing that she could be herself and still be loved and accepted. The children were amazed by Noelia's transformation. They showered her with questions. "Are you a fairy?" one asked. "Are you a princess?" another chimed in. Noelia just smiled mysteriously. She couldn't reveal her true identity, not yet. Suddenly, a scream pierced the air. Little Thomas had wandered too close to the edge of the village. The dark spirits surrounded him, their eyes glowing menacingly. They were going to steal his Christmas spirit. Without hesitation, Noelia spread her magnificent wings and shot into the air. She flew towards Thomas, her heart pounding. The dark spirits hissed and swirled around her, but Noelia was determined. She wouldn't let them hurt him. Using her wings, Noelia created a whirlwind of light, forcing the dark spirits back. She scooped up Thomas in her arms and carried him back to safety. The villagers watched in awe. Who was this mysterious girl who could fly and fight with such grace and power? News of Noelia's bravery spread through the village. People whispered about the winged wonder who had saved little Thomas. They felt a renewed sense of hope. Maybe Christmas wouldn't be so bleak after all. But the danger wasn't over. The dark spirits were furious. They vowed to have their revenge. They gathered their strength, determined to steal the Christmas spirit from the entire village. On Christmas Eve, the dark spirits descended upon the village square. Their eyes glowed with malice. They swirled and hissed, threatening to engulf everything in darkness. The villagers cowered in fear. It seemed like all hope was lost. Noelia stood tall, her wings spread wide. "You will not win!" she shouted. "The people of this village have strong Christmas spirit. You cannot take that away from them." And so began the battle for Christmas Eve. Noelia fought bravely, dodging the dark spirit's attacks. She used her wings to create gusts of wind, blowing the spirits back. But they were relentless. Noelia realized she couldn't do it alone. She needed help.